With the war in Ukraine now into its third month, people are finally being evacuated from Mariupol, the strategic port city which has endured the most destructive siege of the conflict. For a closer look at the situation on the ground, I'm joined in studio by our chief foreign editor, Rob Parsons. Rob, talk to us a little bit about where you see developments in the war going from here. You're just back from Ukraine yourself about a week ago.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that the Ukrainians are in this for the long haul now. You know, there was a period right at the very beginning when I was there, the day that the invasion took place. It seemed that the Russians might make progress, but the Ukrainians quickly put the Russians on the back foot in the area north of Kiev and have forced them to reassess how they're going to go about this. Strategically, they've changed their approach completely. Now they're attacking in the Donbass. But what is most important, I think, in this is that the Ukrainians have managed to convince NATO countries, in particular the United States, that they are capable of winning this conflict. And that, in the minds of the Americans, changes an awful lot. It now becomes conceivable for the Americans to start putting huge amounts of weaponry into the country in the belief that the Ukrainians have the ability, have the military ability and the determination to win this conflict. In turn, that is causing the Americans to think more strategically about what the end game in this conflict is going to be. And the growing conviction, I think, is that if the weapons are there, Ukraine has the ability, has the determination, the willpower to see this through to the end. That's why we're seeing President Biden calling on Congress to approve that massive $33 billion aid effort, military and humanitarian and intelligence from Congress. That's why Nancy Pelosi, you just referred to, was in Ukraine and Kiev at the weekend. She's going to be key to making sure that package gets through. The message that she gave to the Ukrainians was, look, we are with you to the end in this. And that's what the Ukrainians have been asking for.
And in terms of what we're seeing in Mariupol, those UN-sponsored evacuations finally got underway on Sunday. Is it too little, too late, Rob?
Well, for the people who are being evacuated now, of course, it's not too late. For any of those getting out, it's not too late. 120, it seems, are in the process of being evacuated to Zaporizhia and Ukrainian-held territory. Another 80, willingly, voluntarily, have been evacuated to the Russian-backed separatist area of Donetsk. There are hundreds more still inside, and there are thousands who have died. For them, it is too late. Is it too little? Well, probably yes. A lot more could have been and should have been done a long time ago. People have been suffering appallingly in those underground shelters, in complete darkness for 2 months, many of them buried alive beneath rubble. The people who are defending the area don't have any machinery for getting people out of the rubble, just their own arms. So the conditions in those places are appalling. The Russians could have agreed to put these corridors into place long ago. The United Nations probably should have done more to make sure that this happened long ago. But the United Nations, together with the International Red Cross, is now doing it. It has Russian agreement, has Ukrainian agreement, and finally, those people are being evacuated.
And of course, Rob, fighting is continuing elsewhere, right across Ukraine, really. In terms of the Russian objectives, Moscow now focusing on the east. Yeah. How close is it to achieving its aims?
At this stage, it doesn't appear as though they're very much closer to achieving their aims than they were at the start of this conflict. The Donbass in the east of Ukraine was always one of their main targets, that and the area around Kiev to the northwest. Now that they're concentrating all their forces on the Donbass, the expectation has been that they would make, or at least put far more pressure on the Ukrainian forces who are defending that area to the south of Izium. The Russians have taken Izium, and their idea appears to be to encircle the Ukrainian forces in that large pocket to the south of Izium there, pushing up forces from around Mariupol, pushing west from Luhansk and south from Izium to try and surround Slavyansk, which is one of the main centres of Ukrainian resistance there. So far, the Ukrainians seem to be holding them off. The Russians have made some progress, but it has been incremental. And at least according to the Ukrainians, with some backing from British defence authorities as well, the Russians have been taking colossal losses. So at this stage, it appears that the Ukrainians are able to hold out. And given the fact that they're now beginning to get the heavy weaponry that they will need in that conflict, the outlook in general looks a little rosier for them now than it did at the beginning.
Our Chief Foreign Editor, Ron Parsons, thanks so much for joining us with that analysis.